So as we continue this project, the next task is to create a title block. I've already used this layout tab here. I'm going to make another layout tab here. And on this layout tab, I'm going to double click here. I'm going to focus on this cabinet here and this cabinet only. This cabinet has a side view and they're at the same scale. So I'm going to leave some room for the drawing to be placed here to the right. And I'm going to click here and tail this M view here to be a little bit shorter to cut off that little screw that was showing up there. So here I've repositioned the size of the M view. So next to this object here will be the side view of that cabinet in elevation as per the drawing that you already have. Now on this sheet, they have a few sheets that have title blocks. Now we only took the title block so far in a prior chapter and we haven't completed the title block. So let's go through an exercise of completing a title block from a previously drafted project. So if I look here, assignment number 9 had this border and this title block here. So they had the essentials of what I need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into assignment 9 and I'm going to encircle that title block and the border. As long as the border was drawn with a rectangle, it'll select the entire border. There, I've grabbed it all. Then I'm going to use the copy and paste method. And so here is the copy command, or Control C on your keyboard. Here's copy. So click on that. Copy with base point. Let's do that one because I'm going to grab this corner here and it lets me choose a base point. That corner right there. Click. Then I'm going to go to my other drawing here and I'm going to paste it in here. So here's paste. And here is paste as a block. Simple paste. Simply, it's going to copy the lines exactly as they were drafted. We're not going to use the others. We'll paste to original coordinate. Let's see what that does. If I use paste original coordinates, it pastes in the exact same position as the other drawing. Assuming the other drawing was the exact same size as the title block, as this title block, then it'll paste it in the exact same position. And it did here. Otherwise, I'd have to move it around a bit. But that's fine. I'm going to move this M view out of the title block's way. And then, by the way, this is going to be set up at a 3/4 inch scale. So I'm going to click on this view here. I'm going to make sure it's 3/4 inch thick so that when I measure it, the measurements are accurate. So 3/4 is here on my keyboard. Got a little bit bigger. And I'm going to lock it. So now it's locked. So that drawing cannot change scale because it has measurements that we're going to include and we'll draw them in model space. And this box has to be locked in order to do that because the text we're using is annotative. Annotative requires to have a view that has a scale assigned to it. And ideally, it's locked. So accidentally, you don't zoom in and out of the drawing and lose your dimensions because they will disappear if the scale is not what AutoCAD is expecting in terms of the formatting we set up at the beginning here. So this has a certain scale assigned to it. Let's go ahead and draw some dimensions here. Here's the linear dimension from this corner to this corner down to here is 3'10". There's another linear dimension, hit spacebar, between this edge and this piece here, and it's 2'6". And then you want to measure the top. So basically this corner to that corner up here is 4 feet. Those are some basic dimensions that they like us to use. Also follow the class assignments for the correct layers all these objects are supposed to be placed on. I'm basically drawing on a layer 0 for the time being. I'll let you determine what layers are required and to move things to the correct layers. But this, I want to focus on this title block here. And so first, they want Interior Design Inc. is the text that they're using in here. And we have a text that looks like that. I'll do single line. And under annotative here is using notes. I'm going to change that from notes to title block style. And I'm going to use single line text. And I'm going to click on this corner here at the bottom of the screen here. I'm going to click on that corner. It's going to ask me the scale of the text. Let's assume it's a 1/4 inch. And it's only asking for the scale because the text style had a height of 0. And when it has a height of 0, AutoCAD would always ask you, how tall do you want it to be? In this case, let's assume it's a 1/4 inch for the time being. Enter, enter, and then type. So this is interior design. It looks like it's not even big enough. Ink, period. There's your text. Hit escape, escape. Now the text is too big. This is a 1/4 inch. It's a little too big. So let's fix that. Let's click on the text, right click, and go to properties. If a 1/4 inch is too big, let's try half of that. Let's try, well, let's go some slightly smaller. Let's go 3/16 and see if that actually works. It doesn't have to be half the size. 3/16 works fine. Then I'll click on this, grab that grip and move it over to the right, maybe 1/8 of an inch. And there's your text. There's your text centered in the box right there. Now, if I click on that text and want it perfectly centered in the box, what I would do is I would draw a line from here to here. The center of the text should be in the center of that line perfectly. So if ever you were in that situation, you go to your text and you format it here and you look at the justification. What you're looking for here is middle center. Middle center. So the grip that shows up here is going to be dead center in the middle of the text, in the middle and center of the text. Click there. There, it now has the grip middle center. So with that being said, I can click on the text, grab its middle center grip here, and move it to the midpoint of this line here I drew. And it's right there where the green dot is. Click. Now it's dead center in the middle of that box. That's how you typically center text perfectly within a given area using the formatting tools that are available. If I continue along this path, I'm going to draw the others. So in this case, I'm going to use the text style here called standard. And I want to fill out the blanks here. There should be titles on these, and then it should be an answer. So I'm going to use standard text to do those. They don't describe this in the chapter, so I'll do it myself. I will draw a single line of text here. I'll click on that corner there. Here it's going to default to the height of the text is 0. Or height of the text was the last text I drew. The last text I drew was 3/16. So it defaults to the previous answer I entered in AutoCAD. So 3/16 is what it wants. I'm going to make it smaller at 1/16. Enter, enter, and then type. This one should be name. And click on the screen here. Now the formatting is in the wrong place. It's up here at the bottom left. If I click on the text, see the little grip there. I'd have to physically move it down. But there's options. I can click on that object and go properties here. And I can basically assign it to the top left corner of the text. There. So now it's using the top left corner of the text right there to position it on the screen. With that being said, I'm going to move it over 1/16 of an inch. I'll move it down 1/16 of an inch. No, that looks a little big. Let's move it over 1/32. I'm going to undo that. Let's move it over 1/32 and move it down 1/32. And again, they didn't give us any guidance in this from this chapter. So I'm going to take that name and I'm going to copy it from here, from this corner to this corner, to this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner. And then I'm going to change the titles. This is the name of the drawing. This should be scale, colon. This should be name, colon. This should be, actually our design is slightly different than theirs. They have 4 lines of title block lines. I only have 3. So Let's make this date. Can make a little change here. Date, and this will suffice for this assignment. Just say scale. This one here says drawn by. This is normally checked by, and this is sheet. And here you normally put answers. And again, this is just an exercise. We're not going to match the drawings exactly. But here you'd use some other text to type in the answers to these topics. So this time around, let's use a different style of text. Here, I'm going to use the note style of text. And I'll go back here and use another single line of text, snap it to here, hit enter, and then here start typing. Oh, actually, I typed too fast. So do a single line of text here. Rotation is 0, so enter there, and then start typing the text. I'm going to call this Hutch. And I will move it over. Let's say I move it over a 1/2 inch. And I'll move it up a 16th of an inch. That's too big. Maybe I'll move it up a 32nd of an inch to place it there. I will then copy that object from each corner of the drawing so it gets placed in the exact same position. Although this will have to be moved over slightly. So I'll move this over another 1/4 inch or something. I'll move this back a 1/4 inch. And then here, this one's going to be 1/3, 1 out of 3. And I'll have to massage this location because it seems to be conflicting with the text here. This can be your initials, and this will be JM. And this is the date is today's date, so 10 as an example. And then the scale is, I believe we made the 3/4 inch equals 1 foot. So that's the title block that they described on the sheet on the assignment, but they didn't give you much information about how to create it. So I'm going to use that design for all the other sheets. And so when it comes to making the other sheets for the other details, this detail would have the side view, for example. There's some text here on the side. I will then duplicate this, move or copy. I will choose move a copy to the end, and it makes a copy of the exact same layout. Except this layout is going to look differently. It's going to be, from what I gather, some of the details of this drawing. So as an example, if I unlock this and just pan this drawing, oh, this is a mistake. So let's see here. This text is living in paper space because I moved the drawing and the text stayed behind. If I erase this and I double click in model space where I should have been working, go back to here. If I erase this text here, double click model space, this is where the text should be placed. So for example here, if I do a linear dimension here, across the top of that, across the side of this, across the bottom of this, this text resides in paper space. So if I had to move that drawing by unlocking this view, the text moves with it. So this is a bit of a mistake. Let me erase the copy I made earlier. So here is the layout. It's been corrected. If I duplicate it here and copy to the end here, this is the copy. I can basically click on this view. After unlocking it, I can click in this view and slide that drawing over because the text comes with it, which is why you want to put the dimensions on top of the drawing as opposed to on top of the sheet. We don't want to put the text in paper space. So moving forward on this drawing, I want to change the scale to focus on a portion of the cabinet as per the drawings on this homework assignment. So the scale of that drawing is 1.5 inches. So first, what I'll do is I will zoom in on this portion of that drawing right there. And then I will take this drawing and trigger a different scale. In this case, 1.5 inches equals a foot. When that happens, the dimensions will disappear because the dimensions belong to a drawing that is a 3/4 inch scale. So 1.5 inch scale, they will tend to disappear. Double click, and you can see here that all the measurements disappeared. This is the portion of the drawing they'd like us to focus on. This assignment here. So actually, let me zoom in on that again. And again, I because of the zoom, I may have changed the scale, so we got to watch out for that. So let's say this is the right scale currently. And I'm going to click on paper space. And let's make sure we include the top here. So I'm going to include, let's scoot this over, for example. Let's make it look more like the assignment. So let's say double click. And be very careful not to change the scale. Slide this over till about there. The scale is still 1.5 inches. When you're done with that, go back to paper space and basically focus the window on that portion of the drawing here. Then what you can do is you can copy this. So see for copy this over to here. Make this box adjust it to the aerial focus, which is in this case, double click. We're going to focus on this piece here, the top piece of the cabinet right there. And make some adjustments here. And then this here at the bottom is another drawing. I'm going to copy it. This drawing should be the center of that latch. So basically down here somewhere, looks like they want us to measure this thing. And when you do that, each of those drawings have to have the correct scale set up and the viewport's frozen. So this here has been frozen here with the lockbox. It's a padlock has been locked, so it's 1.5 inches equals a foot. We're good there. This one here is going to be 6 inches equals a foot. So I'm going to scroll down here. 6 inches equals a foot. It got slightly bigger. Grab that there. 6 inches equals a foot would be here. And then I'm going to freeze it. I'm going to basically lock it. So that's going to be the detail at the top of the screen. And this one here, this drawing should be equal to also 6 inches equals a foot. 6 inches equals a foot. And it shrunk a little bit, and I'm going to lock it as well. Only after all that work has been accomplished do you then do dimensions. And when you do dimensions, you do them inside these M views to make sure that the scale shows up appropriately for the information that you are measuring. Also, these boxes here should be on a layer that gets turned off or does not print. So for example, here, if I zoom into this area here, I can activate this viewport by double clicking inside of it. I can launch a measurement here. And let's say, for example, they want us to measure this between here and here, down to there. Actually, let me erase that for a second. They want us to measure a horizontal measurement here from the bottom of this to the next shelf, then the thickness of the next shelf. So I'm going to click on that dimension and drag it out here. And then when I click on this object here, what I will want to do is go here to annotate, and I will launch the continue command. If I click the continue command, it continues that string here, the last thing I did, and allow me to click on the next object and continue along the path here. So I'm going to continue zooming into here, click, click, and then this goes down to here, and then hit escape. That does it. This dimension here can be clicked on, and this could be moved out of the way, or it can be erased. I'm going to delete this dimension measurement here. I'm going to click on that measurement and delete. Not necessary. This one here is not necessary. Delete. And you see what you're left behind with. This is a 1/4 inch. So I'll do go back to Home tab. I'll do a horizontal dimension, a linear dimension here. 1/4. Click on that text and drag it over to here with the ortho turned off. Escape, escape. Then I'll do an ARC, start, end, and then draw a little arc there. For example, like this, to show where that dimension is going. And then they'll have some text here at the bottom of the screen that you'll add. Shelf spacing, scale, 1.5 inches. You'll also add another text here on top of the sheet or inside of paper space. It doesn't make a difference. But you can see here that these drawings are all different measurements between 1.5 inches to a foot. This one here is 6 inches to a foot. Even though they're different scales, I can come into any one of these drawings here and launch a measurement. For example, here, and I can start measuring anything I like. Here, for example. Just a quick example. You can see all the measurements look exactly the same. That measurement says 2 3/4. That's at 8.5. These measurements are accurate inside those windows, inside those scales. And all the text is exactly the same height. So when it prints, this text is not smaller or taller than that text. Everything's consistent. The formatting of the drawings have been set up correctly. This one here should do the exact same thing. I should go into here and do the overall length here. I should be able to do these lines here. I'm going to move this one down with the ortho turned on, by the way, so I can drag it straight down. I can click on these lines here and drag them down. I can pull that string up. I can do a continue. So I'll go annotation, continue, and I can continue it to here. Enter. And then here they want us to thickness. So I'm going to go vertical. Here's linear to do a vertical dimension there. You see how quick and easy you can do. You can add dimensions, as provided that the formatting has been set up properly. M views have been set up at the right scale. They've been frozen. Therefore, you can now type on top of these drawings and put the notes on here as well. So in that case, I can do this. I can come into here and do a single line of text. I can make sure the text is set up for note style. I can click here, enter, and then I can call this a dado depth and click on the screen, and there's the text. I can move it closer to the dimension if I need to, and I can place these texts anywhere inside the drawing or on the sheet itself. They will scale correctly. And so when it comes time to do the final details required in the set, you do the exact same thing again. You will duplicate this page, and then you will erase the M view that, if you don't need an M view, the next page only has 2 M views. You will refocus these areas on the parts of the drawing that are important. So I'll come here and make another drawing at the end of the set. This is another copy. This is a duplicate. I'll actually rename these. I'll right click and rename. This should be drawing number 3. Let's see what they call this one here. In the set of drawings, they call this one, I'm not sure what they call that one there. Maybe this is 2. Maybe this is 1. So you got 1, front and side view. You got 2, these details, and you got 3, again, from the chapter in the book. So let's quickly set up that next sheet. So this is drawing number 3. Drawing number 3 focuses on the elevation, the side elevation. Here, again, I'll sketch it out. I'm not going to draw it, but let me draw a P line. And let's assume that eventually the drawing will go here somewhere. That's where the new drawing will go. You'll draw it there, the side view of the cabinet. I will not draw it. So in layout 3, then the idea is then to these are copies. So this one here is the duplicate. I will click in here and I will move this over. But I can't because the screen's frozen. So I will click on this, unlock it temporarily, and now I can click inside and slide it over so I can focus on the side view. You can see here the side view. I don't need that text on the screen here. That text belongs to the other drawing. I'm going to erase it. So this is the side view. This one here can potentially be erased. This one here can be made taller. And this one here will focus on the bottom of the cabinet. So we will unlock it. So here you click and unlock it. And then you double click inside there and you'll change the scale. And this seems to be like the side of the cabinet here, for example. And this is set up at an 1.5 inch scale. So I will change it here to 1.5 inch scale. And notice the dimensions disappear because they weren't drawn at 1.5 inch scale. They were drawn at a different scale. So you can recycle the exact same drawing over and over again, provided that the screen is formatted to be at the scale that you're after. This can be drawn here, for example. I can draw this over here. Again, these boxes are meant to be erased, or not erased, rather. These are meant to be hidden on layers that aren't visible, so I can focus on the drawings and not the fact that these have boxes around them. So there are the drawings that you'll focus on next. You'll draw this in its entirety. These go on layers that disappear, and you'll measure what you see on the screen here. This is set up for an 1.5 inch scale, and now I can put a padlock on it. This one here is set up at an 1.5 inch scale also, 1.5 inch scale. But it's only meant to focus on the very topmost piece here, this the topmost portion right there. Again, you'll draw more accurately than I did. But once you have it at the scale you're after, click and lock that scene. So the design will show up here. This shows up here on the right. Then you simply put notes and dimensions. You can always go back to model space. And in model space, you can continue doing the work. You can draw this cabinet. Ignore the fact that the measurements all on this drawing, and you see there are different scales. Ignore that fact you see here. Ignore the fact that that was done. Focus on the design, the line work of your architecture or furniture in this case. Focus on that work only. Don't do dimensions in model space. Okay, with that being said, I'll leave it to you all to complete this assignment, and we'll see you all next week. Okay, take care. Bye now.